Hi, and welcome to She Connects. I'm Anita, your super host, and this is
Dionne.
This is Dionne. Thank you for coming all this way to Fairfield City HQ, and welcome to the She Connects workshop. We are a live podcast, as you know. What brings you onto my podcast today?
I feel like we connected very well when we met, so I wanted to network, branch out, and meet new people, and
Align yourself.
align myself. And I guess now that I'm working on my new episode as well, that I have a podcast, Imperfect, on Spotify, I wanted to also just network and get my name out there and
Connect with trusted people who want to empower each other, right?
Correct.
And this is what this podcast and workshop's all about.
Yes.
I think our friendship, we've been and known each other for about 2 years, 2.5 years, right?
Yeah.
And every time I've met Dionne, she brings a very spiritual, a very happy and jolly energy, which I love. Yeah, I think a lot of the times when, we don't connect often, but when we do, it's like we haven't been apart.
Yeah, it feels comfortable.
It feels comfortable, and this is the kind of vibe I love and love to promote as well, where your gut feel says this person's safe, and I feel I can be myself around them. Correct. And you've also mentioned that you're working on a podcast.
Yes. Well, I've had this podcast for a couple of years. I just haven't been motivated enough. I've just had so much going on where I haven't actually sat down and done it. That I'm getting back into it. I've rebranded and I have a good feeling this time around.
And that's all you need. You need a good feeling to start.
Exactly.
And it's something, personal to you, right? And I've actually tuned into a couple of episodes and I love it. I love it because you bring you bring character into it, which,
I don't want it to be boring. I want it to be,
spicy.
Spicy, raw, vulnerable, just very...
Yeah, and it is a lot of interpersonal stories, which people may find hard to hear, but also it's the truth of how you've dealt with things and how you see the world as well, which is super important because being a female, being in the new generation, there's not a lot of people I would say I would trust or that I would listen to and learn from. And finding, I guess, a connection, whether it's a digital world, whether it's from a podcast or whether it's from a friend or a family member, they're all different experiences. And I think your podcast talks about this, right?
Yes. As you said, it's quite deep and it gets into things that people don't like chatting about. So it is a trigger warning, but also I feel like not many people talk about it. So that's why I want to be there to actually express my thoughts and what I've been through and everything that's important that we often ignore and dismiss, and just bringing awareness to mental health as well. I think that's really important. Yeah,
because I feel like one of your episodes actually references a organization that does help with mental health. So I guess your podcast, for the wider audience that are listening today, what is it about?
It's all about being on an open and safe platform just to express vulnerability, showcasing imperfections, and again, raising awareness of mental health, speaking about trauma, life experiences, the whole shebang. Just things that we often dismiss and ignore.
And is this just aimed at females, or is it aimed at the modern world today?
I would say modern world society, but I do like to, target women because I feel like
we understand each other more and we go through very similar cases.
And my industry that I used to be in was beauty related. So I feel like what I experienced personally was aimed at women.
So it started off aimed at women, but then also the wider audience will be able to relate to personal stories 100%. And events that you went through. And it does get a bit sensitive in ways where you may relate, you may not relate, and it may not be for you, right? But I love the rawness, I love the boldness that you bring, and thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Not a lot of people can talk about their own personal stories. Luckily, I'm not one of them. And when you find someone that wants to listen and also has the same sort of background or idea or opinion about something, it makes life more beautiful.
Exactly. Right?
They always say two hands are better than one, let alone two mindsets.
Aww.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I would say, what would be your latest episode? What's that about?
It's cooking. It's I'm currently editing it. It is very deep. It's basically all about what I've been through in the last 6 months. I feel like I escaped the beauty industry because I was in it for about over a decade, and I just manifested this job that I thought I once wanted, and when I got there, I wasn't happy. And I feel like that feeling that I had, it didn't feel right, so I had to change it. And I was like, you know what? I want to do something different. I feel like this purpose of mine has changed from 9 years ago. So I want to do something more in alignment with who I am today, not who I was 9 years ago.
That's true, and that's very important for our younger viewers to listen in. And not get too attached to what they thought they wanted to do, to who they are, and just keep up with reality, right? And I think a lot of like younger generation, even myself, right? Back in the day, I thought I was going to be an accountant. Little did I know how boring accounting was to me, right? In a related story, similar, right? You thought the whole glamorization of being a makeup artist, the lifestyle, the people you're with, and what it brought to the table, it's not exactly what you thought it was, right? And you found it very difficult to detach away from that, correct?
It was very hard. And I mean, I still get offers to this day to go backwards and go back to that industry, but I've had to stay firm on my boundaries and say, no, this isn't for me anymore. I don't want to do it. But it took a lot for me to get there. Like, I sat on it for a couple of years. But I mean, I started it because I loved art, and I still do. I love art. I love expressing myself through art. But I just needed a different way to express myself.
We don't need to fixate on anything and just learn to go with the flow. Whatever your body and mind tells you what's right for you is pretty much the right way that the universe is telling you to go. All it takes is a spark of a moment for you to realize, I need to change. Correct? Yeah. I would say, what is your advice to girls entering the beauty industry that you've now exited?
That's a hard one because
I know, right?
I have so much to say, and I did mention it in my last episode about beauty standards, and I will touch on it a little bit in the next episode, but I feel like women have been so conditioned to be in one box, and we live in a very patriarchal world and a very sexist world, and I feel like women just live to be pretty and to look a certain way, and I think that women should learn to appreciate what they look like and just embrace their flaws, embrace their uniqueness. But that is easy to say, right? But it's hard because social media
tells a different story.
Like,
it displays a whole different
TikTok,
picture.
I mean, I'm not on TikTok and I'm glad I never joined that. But TikTok has changed
the game.
Yeah.
Even for beauty artists back in the day, where
it's changed dramatically.
The transformation, all the snitches and all these things that you see in videos. It looks easy, but it's hard work, man.
And filters came in. Like when
filters
I first started,
changed the whole game of the beauty industry.
When I first started in the industry, there were no filters. There was like, I was
raw images.
I was taking photos.
I can see your pimple and that blackhead.
And now it's just
blemish free. Everyone's perfect for some reason.
And I was researching about, it's called I think it's the Insta face or something, where you look at everyone on Instagram and everyone looks the same.
Oh yeah, and then you question which doctor did everyone go to?
The purpose behind it is what kind of drew me out of the industry. I was like, yeah, it's not, it feels very empty, it feels very egoic, and I don't want to be
It's too material.
Too materialistic.
Looks at too much, where you don't find much value behind it.
There's
right?
no sole purpose, there's no meaning behind it.
And that was the awakening call for you to be like, beauty industry is not for me.
It's toxic.
It's toxic in a way. Yeah, like, and so be it, right?
Yeah.
Every industry has their own.
Exactly.
But like the beauty industry itself would have a very competitive market. What looks good? Who's trending? Do you have the latest? Do you know of the latest? Can you do the latest, right? It's a very fast-paced industry, but everyone's running a million miles an hour. And it's not numbers, and it's not money related. It's literally who looks the best at this hour. In 36 hours, it could be some other look. And it changes, and that's where you feel the emptiness, correct? Yeah.
It's a very underpaid industry also, like.
And I've had girlfriends go through beauty schools, which cost an arm and a leg.
And my kit cost me arm and a leg, let alone like all my time, my energy, everything.
And travel and stuff like that. It is an underpaid industry, I know that for sure. But I'm glad that you've realised and you have that spark and fire that you want to do more now.
Exactly.
What does more look like?
More is, it's funny because the minute I stepped out of it, I had to kind of start from scratch and be like, okay, what do I like doing apart from makeup? Like I had to find myself again, and I had to experiment with different things, and I mean, I'm still doing that to this day, and I'm still working out where I want to go in life. And I actually enrolled in a holistic counselling course.
Beautiful.
That I've been trying to do. Obviously, life's been crazy at the moment, but and I'm eventually thinking to do life coaching.
That's
moving forward.
That's cool.
And I think all my past experiences is kind of led me towards this path. So
it sounds to me you like to heal people rather than make them just look pretty. Like that's a skill on its own. But you also want to make the inner beauty shine just as much.
You said it.
And that is also beautiful because you want to shine inside and out.
I agree.
And kudos. Kudos for finding that. Kudos for finding that, because not a lot of people will change industries just like that. Or will they find an answer that this is not for you. But in due course, you did it. You did it, and you've proven to yourself many times, and it's probably shaped your experiences here today that, you know, things may not happen for you now, or may just not be for you, but it's okay to realign your course to life and to see what happiness means now. I would say my interpersonal story was very similar to this, where I knew accounting wasn't for me because of my own personality. I loved numbers, but I didn't like repetitive work. That would be my downfall. Yes, the name of being a CA or CPA is what mum and dad aspired me to be, but was it really me? It took me to the age of 25, 26 to realise this is not the career path I want to go towards. But it wasn't in a glamorized industry. It's a glamorized profession. But it really came back down to my core values, where, you know, I had to reevaluate, okay, so, you know, I've graduated from Wollongong University. There's a couple of avenues of what I should be doing. I could go down the financial planning path, which is something I've always endeavoured. But, you know, for me, I couldn't find a good job in that industry because it was so male dominant that you know, a paraplanner wasn't even an open role for a female. A lot of the backlash and the rejection was, you're a female, you're new to the industry, you need to start from an admin for 2 years before I can train you to be upskilled. And I'm like, I'm sorry, we have the same qualifications. Why does my for example, my friend who also studied the same course gets a paraplanning role?
It goes back to sex as well.
It wasn't very, like, it was very tough as a new grad, right?
Yeah.
New grad, and, you know, this story happened time and time again, where I'm asking myself, is it skills or is it gender? And it scared me a bit. I'm just like, okay, if gender is the issue, what is a profession that is of an equal?
Yeah.
Right? For example, I, you know, didn't take an opportunity. I've actually rejected opportunities in financial planning, and I've taken myself and reevaluated my skills. Like numbers has always been a passion. Explaining numbers is always a passion of mine. Understanding business operations has always been part of who I am. I was brought up in a family business, and that's something I oversighted. But accounting was something of equal value that was respected compared to financial planning. And I guess this is a story where I knew from, you know, going down the accounting path as an entry to understanding this wasn't for me. It took a long time. But I did pull myself out of there just as much as you did.
You could feel the resistance.
You could feel the resistance because you know you could do the job. You know you were competent, but deep down somewhere inside, you're like, I actually have character. I actually have an inner purpose that's about to be released. But how and when does this evolve into the next stage, right?
And it's scary because you're stepping out into a new world. You don't know what's, you know, the unknown is scary. Like,
super scary. Yeah. And then it wasn't until fate brought me into banking and lending. I had an amazing time with a manager that I respected, and he talked to me of an equal rather than a submissive, in a way where you are an equal value of a team rather than you're just my left hand side and this is all you need to do. There was open communication, there was equal respect, there was professionalism, and that made my working experience in a role that was half accounting and reporting, but also business development as a banker, a commercial banker, which also led me to a new light of, hey, we can be equal, but we need to show competence to get there and get the male to respect that as well. Whether it's a good boss or a bad boss, that's a new episode to talk about. But betting on yourself to know that this is not for you is huge. But it didn't, for me, for my little journey, I had a second knock on the door about accounting and see if that path it was for me. Like deep down I still needed to fulfill mum and dad's wishes to be a CA or CPA. However, like I had
Did you go down?
Luckily I had an amazing manager that gave me a secondment opportunity to be a senior finance manager in a different department. Right? It was sad that I did leave for a year or two, but it was great because I had my answer.
You had a bit of a break.
I had a break from a step back to be, hey, is the commercial banker role for you, or is that finance manager partner path for you? It really shone a huge light to be like, slam that door shut. You belong in sales.
That's
you
amazing.
belong in client facing role. You belong here. But it took a while.
It doesn't happen overnight. That's for sure.
I think like for the viewers coming on at the moment, like it's a bit of a highlight on what to expect when you change industries, right? And it's also, what are the real struggles? What are the real struggles that may hit you, right? Not a lot of people talk about this, and it's very open. You're very open. I've listened to your podcast before, and it does shine a different light to the world. Where I think coming from my own interpersonal story is I gave up the corporate life, the working life, the showing up to 9 to 5, to starting from scratch or starting from minus to be building yourself in competence today. But you are who you are, and that journey and timing is what you're going through right now, right? And I truly believe that only you are the creator of your own life. And that's something that you're working on at the moment, right?
Yes. That's a great way to put it. I love it.
Oh, thanks. But like, what are your highlights at the moment? I know we're going deep in your podcast, but apart from your podcast, what are some things that you're grateful for?
I know it sounds silly, but I'm just grateful to have a job that I'm just
happy.
in.
Yeah. And it's a very simple thing.
Yeah.
But people really take it for granted. A story that just reminded me of a graduate, recent graduate actually, was talking to me, and they told me how hard it is to find a job that they like. And I'm like, what is so hard about finding a job you like?
Yeah.
I'm like, a job is something that you get paid for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Finding that balance of I love what I'm doing to I'm at a happy place is 3 different mindsets. Yeah. Because like you can go to a job, do the job and go home. But to find that sort of thing that feels like home, it's different.
It is, yeah.
Right? And I feel like you found that home for this temporary stage of your life that you're happy with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the struggle of finding your own, like living under your own home. That is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, mum and dad will always doubt you. Can you survive on your own? Or do you even know what you're doing with your life?
Being a single female.
Being a single female living on your own, that's
a big deal.
That's a huge deal because we're always, society's deemed us that we always need a partner. But that's not necessarily the case.
No.
Yeah.
And that intimidates a lot of men because finding people who actually are on the same wavelength as you is hard these days. So when I first moved out, right, I would have, I guess, you know, people come over, whatever. Yeah. But, you know, I could feel their, like, intimidation and, like, oh, shit, like, she's got her shit together. Like, you know, like...
Shocking!
Yeah, like...
Wow. Yep, okay.
Yeah. So, just, I guess, also now I'm kind of learning to, you know, be more aware of who I'm bringing into my space, and if I'm not energetically feeling like, you know, they're safe or their presence is welcome in my place, I'm not going to invite you over.
100%.
So yeah, I'm very selective now with who I interact with, and I think that's all coming from, again, protecting my own energy and yeah.
Because I feel like, you know, growing up, we're taught to be kind and welcoming to everybody and just be friendly.
Yeah.
Never do you ever get taught this, that you can say no in a way that you're not welcomed, or you need to set that boundary because you don't like them.
Exactly.
I struggled with that back in the day where, you know, everything had to be fair, everyone is welcomed, and, you know, this is a safe house for everybody.
And as Geminis, we love, you know, networking, we love people. But
we love people.
We can be people pleasers as well.
We also need to grow out of that people pleasing stage, which takes a lot of grit. Yeah. Because you're always in 2 heads, right? Be fair, be kind, or this person's not for you, get out, right? I'm very black and white when it comes to energy and alignment, and I never leave the grey. And I learned that through dating, and like, I think on another episode I was talking to Teresa, we were talking about what that meant, like all these applicants of men coming through, it makes it sound like, you know, I'm a woman that has a lot of options. Yeah. But it's really not, right? It's really about finding, you know, going through a lot of people and figuring out what's right for you.
I think it's important that every woman has that experience.
Correct. Or even if you're at a young age, you need to grow with someone that aligns with you before you even lock that ring down or even think about moving into each other, because you're creating not just a relationship, you're creating an environment, a house to live in, a family that you want to grow together, and it's something definitely worth your time exploring in your single life. Who is there for you? What is there for you? What do you like? What you don't like? And limit those surprises. Right? When surprises happen, sometimes, even in my world, like I'm not saying I'm an old married couple, but it's been about 4 months, and there's things that still surprise me to this day, that I'm discovering my partner more and more. Was I dating someone, or was I dating a facade of someone? Because everything happens so quickly. But again, relationships are about trust and forgiveness. I'm slowly learning that.
Yes.
But I also look back on my single independent life stage where if I didn't go through the many dates, the many different types of men that I've met, and people in society, I wouldn't find someone who is the 80%.
Yeah.
Whether they're the 100%, it's a blessing. But I feel as women, we may need to even nurture that 20% to be 100%.
100%.
What is 100%? 100%, right? Yeah, and I'm not perfect. That's for sure. No one is, and we're not trying to embrace that.
No.
That we're God's gift to earth, by all means.
No.
But we'd like to think that. Well, we're only joking. We're only joking. But in saying that, we want to talk to a younger female and be like, hey, are you okay? If something's up, why is it up? But we also want to care that this person is good for you in your environment because we have gone through that.
Even just simply asking, are you okay? Like, I mean, it sounds cheesy, but I was never asked if I was okay.
Absolutely.
I still don't get asked if I'm okay. I just kind of have to brush it off, suck it up, go to work, and if I'm in a shitty mood, I still don't get asked. Like, you just be open and not be afraid to normalize
asking how someone's emotionally feeling.
Yeah.
It's really
and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah.
And I was talking to another girlfriend the other day, and that we were like, women get each other.
Yeah.
Men are very simple. Simple to the extent it annoys women. And it's true because they're very simple creatures that they don't give you detail.
No.
Women love detail.
Yeah.
And this is where the conflicts somewhat arise sometimes, right? Communication is key, right? Connection is key. But if you don't talk the same language, it's so hard to build trust.
Yeah, definitely.
I want this, but I'm only going to give you half of the answer. The rest you have to guess. What on earth?
What on earth?
What on earth? Am I talking to an alien?
Yeah.
But sometimes we feel that in women and men communication where we're not the same wavelength, or we weren't brought up the same, or this is just how men are, and that's not good enough for me.
No.
Sometimes
you need
it's just
to really get to know someone before you lock it down. I feel like
you've got some dating stories for me. Any good experience you would like to share that what felt right for you?
Guess how long I've been single for now?
6 months.
Keep going.
2 months.
Higher.
Okay. 2 years.
Higher.
3 years.
Higher.
4 years.
Higher.
10 years.
No, I think it's been 7 years.
Wow.
I have been single.
That's a long time.
Yes, but I was also in a relationship for 4 years.
That's a long time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was because I was so young that it really shook me up. Like, it shook my whole world up.
For sure.
And I was, slowly coming out of high school. It was very fresh. In your teens, you don't really know much. Like,
you don't even have a value of time.
You don't even know who you are or what, So
you're just a cute little girl getting picked up by a jock. I know that story. Yeah.
No, but I was just all about him, and we were all about each other, and it was a very codependent relationship, which wasn't healthy at all.
Okay.
And so when it did end, obviously I had a freaking mental breakdown. It was
for sure.
It was.
He was your ride or die.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah.
I was absolutely heartbroken, and it was because I didn't love myself, or I didn't know how to love myself.
You were never taught that because you jumped in a relationship too quickly, right?
Exactly.
And this is where a lot of girls would relate to this because we are brought up in high school, we're just learning and learning and learning. Bam! Next minute you got a boyfriend. Where is that gap of finding yourself?
Yeah.
It's not there.
No. And I feel like...
And you're chucked into the world now where you do end up finding yourself and your self-worth later in life.
But I'm grateful for having that experience, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be who I am today. Because, it taught me how to love myself. I had to force myself to go to therapy and find myself again and know what I like and don't like and go out dating and experience the world, you know, because I was so sucked in this lovey-dovey mode for
little bubble.
Yeah, my little bubble for 4 years.
And 4 years is a long time.
It's a long time. It's funny because I haven't really openly spoken about this.
Oh, that's cute.
So it's kind of fresh and awkward because it's like, do I really want the world to know about my 4-year relationship? Like, when people look at me, they're like, oh, she's probably in a relationship, like she's probably taken, like, you know what I mean? But I feel like, yeah, for any girl out there who's in a relationship right now, I just think it's also important to get to know yourself too. And experience the world without a man in your life.
That is super important.
Yeah.
Right? And it comes back down to my mother.
Yeah.
My mother didn't have that.
No,
So therefore there was none of this guidance.
Yeah.
Of finding yourself first.
Yeah.
Before you find a man.
Yeah.
And push comes to shove, maybe a lot of people miss out. Even maybe boys miss out.
Yeah.
But we can only say it from the female perspective
Exactly.
that it was never promoted to find yourself, be an individual first before you find your lover.
Yeah.
It's whatever happened back in the day. And even now, right?
Yeah.
And it's come to maybe a lot of society has now realized that it's detrimental to find yourself before you fall into a relationship where your identity may even change, your surname may even change, your whole environment may even change. But what if that breaks down? What if that was no longer there? What if that person never existed? That brings me back to a personal story of mine where I had to reverse engineer my own brain to get rid of that voice of his for 3 years. I had a partner that triggered me for 3 years, saying, A, you're not good enough. B, why can't you be slimmer? 3, maybe my parents, would accept you if you were fitter. Right? I'm embarrassed to be with you. I only like parts of you. Like, all these words, right, are crazy.
It's wild.
Right? But you as a young female didn't know what was boundaries in a way that was healthy. Right? If I look back on that relationship, it took me 3 years to reverse those thoughts for me to find who I am, to be more confident and competent in my work. I look back and I also think, I'm just like, what if I never met this person? Right? How different would I be? And I'm very proud to say I would be exactly who I am without those toxic thoughts or those insecurities that was put upon me. And I may have even achieved further in life if this person never actually entered my life. So weird. So weird how the mind can control a lot.
Definitely. Wow.
Scary, hey? A simple relationship could give you so much insecurities, so much backlash.
How did you leave it?
It never got resolved.
Interesting.
This person literally took off out of the country and left me cold. Lucky we weren't living together. Lucky we didn't have any shared accounts or pets or anything. But
just out of nowhere, out of the blue.
Out of the blue.
Okay.
Got a job overseas and said, see you later. And that was as important as I was to him out of this 3 years, with not even a face-to-face talk or a phone call.
After 3 years.
Yeah, and hey, maybe differences that grew apart, but I'm at peace with myself, which is very important. And everything happened for a reason. But it did take me 3 years to heal.
Of course.
And think of myself as the confident woman as I was before he entered my life. Right?
I mean, it took me just as much as I was in that relationship 4 years to heal myself as well.
And it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, no one understands it all.
No.
People might see me from the outer perspective going, oh, she's confident.
Yeah.
She's alright. She must have plenty of guys dating. She's so bubbly and kind. But deep down, there's still insecurities.
Of course.
But you also learn to accept yourself that I'm doing my best for me and not for anyone else. And that's all that matters. And this is why I would say girls who are independent, who want to be independent, it's a great option to give yourself in case anyone leaves you,
Of course.
in case anything breaks down, and you're only there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a selfish thought.
No.
It's a more, I don't need to be codependent. I don't need to find a man to be happy. I don't need their approval to be anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it really scares society sometimes
It does.
because how I would explain it, the upcoming society now, we have a huge rise in independent women, and I'm so proud of that in a way where we're not feminists, but we know our own value.
Yeah.
We know exactly what we're worth. We
Yeah.
understand what equal is,
Yes.
but we also understand what equal means in different environments.
Correct.
And it's getting clearer and clearer. But the downside to that is
Hyper independence?
hyper independence, right? That's one downside. But
Yeah.
the other downside I want to pinpoint is men are not also up to scratch.
No.
It sounds very one-sided, but the upbringing, the increase of independent women scares men.
Yeah.
And I
It
found that
does.
through dating, and
It
I found
does.
that through, meeting different people. You develop a sixth sense about them,
Yeah.
men. You develop a sixth sense about men
Yeah.
that you can't explain,
Yeah.
but you just smell it. It's really weird.
It's funny because it's funny you mentioned that because the minute I started respecting myself, I would repel men. Like your aura and your energy speaks for itself. So when I go out now compared to 3 years ago,
Yeah.
no one approaches me anymore.
Wow.
And it's like when I used to go out clubbing, I would have every Tom, Dick, and Harry
Around
all
you.
the toxic ones grabbing me, whatever they would be
That's
doing.
right.
But now that you can see when a woman is confident. You can see when she knows herself and she knows her worth.
It's
It's
a switch.
it's a switch.
It literally
it's
is
a massive
a switch.
switch.
Yeah. So Dionne, do you deem yourself as a role model for females?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it's so important for a woman to feel confident in her own skin and to not be afraid to say no or to, go a different path if you're not feeling like it's the right one for you, or just in general being confident in yourself and knowing your worth is so important.
I hear a lot of that from the female side, right? Is there a message to the men that are wanting independent ladies like you yourself?
Where are they?
There's no school for men there's no school for men to understand what a traditional woman has had to someone who's very different from a female or a hyper independent female, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's very difficult to date for a woman who knows their value, that's for sure. And I sometimes feel sorry for men.
Yeah, I get it.
Not in a bad way.
I do.
It's more so, how we say we haven't found ourselves and we need that independence to find ourselves. We also have that in a reflection in men.
Yeah.
And we call that the Peter Pan theory.
I've heard of that, but explain.
Have you heard of that?
Explain.
So they're in a forever zone of a little boy. The mum's over-cherished him. He's always doing what he does best. Play games, hanging out with the boys, no duties, no accountabilities, no pre-planning for the future. This is where independent females get put off.
Yeah.
You're right? And this is that switch where it can't be turned off because we are now looking for someone who's almost of equal or if not better, right? And this is very upsetting to know that there's a vast majority of that Peter Pan syndrome hanging around. And I can't blame anyone for this because in the vice versa, girls don't know their worth. Then on this hand would be the Peter Pan syndrome, right? How when they both meet, when this individual who hasn't found themselves and this person who's just forever in the me boy zone, right? There's no care in the world. It's very toxic, right? And unless you've actually matured or found yourself, right? You don't filter that.
It's important for men to heal as well. It's important for them to be accountable for their actions, to go to therapy, to do the inner work as well, because when you're both healed and you know
what's a respected adult, what's a respected mature adult in a relationship,
how to communicate without being verbally abusive, or how to just in a respectful manner.
Communicate in a respectful manner. We are accountable for being ourselves and what we bring to the world. But also, when we're looking for a partner, what are we actually looking for? We're not looking for Peter Pan anymore.
No.
We're looking for Prince Charming. Someone who's got a castle and a chariot and servants, right? No. But it's not all that. But we know how stressful Sydney is, right? We can't have all that and have something less. Right? Being an independent means being able to pay their bills, being able to articulate their accounts, being able to understand legislation and what's a wrong from a right. Like, if you're forever in a victim mindset, whether you're a boy or a girl, you'll end up in a mental state at the end of the day, which is very hard to learn and unlearn. But that is your journey. Right? That is your journey to discover. And having female or mature people to look up to, whether it's your mother or a big brother or an uncle or even a best friend, it helps along the way. Right? And this is where it brings upon where, the She Connects project itself, it's an amazing project to be able to have personalities like you on the show who are open, raw, and are open to trust. Whether it's supporting you by your podcast or supporting you in your next stage of life or something you want to explore, you want to give back to the world just as much as you have experienced. Whether it's hearing your stories or understanding how your perspective is quite different from different people. And it's different from me, different to you, but we're all human.
And it's all our own unique journeys, and I think that's beautiful as well.
That's definitely beautiful. So Dionne, before we close up, I know we're doing live workshops together eventually, and that's being on our agenda. What are some key messages you want our audience to think about tonight?
I just want everyone to not be afraid to ask for help, or to know that you can lean on the person next to you, because you never know what someone's going through. They could be going through the same thing as you. And also just how important it is to really accept yourself for who you are, and to sometimes just block out the noise and know that the way you were born is beautiful. You're unique. You're your own human being. You shouldn't have to compare yourself to anyone, or look to the person next to you to try and look like them or to be like them. I want to see more people just embracing their uniqueness. I think that's my main message. I'm kind of tired of egos, and I kind of just want to see people being their expressive self and
be unique.
Be unique.
Be unique, and not be afraid to be unique.
Not be afraid to be unique, and it's okay to be different, and it's okay to say how you feel. Doing the inner work is really worth your time and energy and investment.
When we say inner work, what does that actually mean?
Inner work, I feel like, is you're experiencing a hardship in your life, but you're drinking every night, or you're going out to the clubs every night. Are you running away from your problems? Yes. So instead of running away from your problems, just sit with yourself and
fix the issue.
But also just be aware of what you're going through. And again, if you need help, ask for help. There's a lot of options out there where you can get help. and even just, opening up to people, because I feel like a lot of people bottle up a lot of things inside and afraid to speak up about it. So
finding a good ecosystem where you can express yourself could be among family or friends.
Yeah.
But there's also professional help right out there where people will listen.
Yeah.
May be paid, may not be paid, right?
Yeah.
But there are professions out there to look out for each other.
Yeah. I mean, if I didn't take that leap to find professional help, because I didn't have that option of, speaking to someone in my family or speaking to my friends, I did seek out professional help, and I think that was the best decision I've ever made.
Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Where can our viewers find you?
Spotify, so just look up Imperfect and under Dionne Perezos, you'll see me there. And
Beautiful.
Apple Podcasts, I think I'm still there. I haven't actually checked, but
So Spotify is your main platform.
Spotify is my main platform.
Instagram is your second platform.
Yes, at DXPRZ.
DXPRZ, and
It's a
I'll
bit
list that in the comments as well.
Yeah.
So anyone who wants to listen to Dionne's personal stories, her struggles that she's had, her inner thoughts coming through, it's all about connecting, relating, and I guess
women empowerment,
women empowerment, even men empowerment sometimes, right?
So yes.
There's also a lot of things to be learned, not from her perspective and her stories, but know that there's other people struggling as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's being able to have that human connection.
Yes.
And be vulnerable, be able to be proud of your own story and journey.
Yeah.
And this is where it is at the moment, and even in my world, She Connects is my podcast, but in my world, I'm Synergy Money. I'm a finance broker, and I talk to women.
Help me.
Get money, understand money, and build a better relationship with money, just as you do in your world. Yeah. So thank you for coming on the show.
Of course.
Hopefully we can build more trust amongst people who are listening.
Yes.
Empower more souls to do more and collaborate.
Love that.
Thank you again for coming on the show, and we hope to see you guys soon in a workshop. Thank you. Have a good night.